way, because the speaker's just going to be sitting here, so over in the corner there, yeah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarini. Set them, yeah, you can set them up on this side if you want, and that'll be plenty. That'll be plenty. Yeah, that'll be more than enough. In the corner there, be a good idea. Okay, yeah, it's a little tough. So on this glorious Disappearance Day anniversary of Srila Prabhupada, so many memories come back. I was around at that time, and anyway, it's a whole story. I was in the air. I was in the air on my way to Vrindavan when Prabhupada, actually just before he disappeared, and then we had a bomb scare on the plane. And we had to land in Shannon Airport, and we stayed for a whole day while they scoured that plane and didn't find a bomb. But we had missed our connection to Bombay that was supposed to land in Heathrow. And so we were a few days more, like 3, 4 days getting there. Usually it's like 1.5 days. And so a devotee in Bombay who couldn't even speak, he gave us a telegram telling us that Prabhupada had just disappeared the previous day. I was traveling with another devotee. Anyway, that's the whole adventure I'm not going to dwell on. But I'd like to read this. I prepared it, and this is my little offering to Prabhupada in remembrances. Throughout the year 1977, as word of Srila Prabhupada's deteriorating health spread throughout the worldwide ISKCON centers, the anxiety built in the hearts of all his disciples. How could we go on without Srila Prabhupada's personal presence and guidance? Was the universal thought in the minds of all. One passage in his books was frequently quoted to encourage and solace us. It appears in Srila Prabhupada's purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 4.28.47, and those who were here this morning, Balaram Prabhu also cited this passage. And this passage describes how a queen was lamenting the demise of her husband, the king. Srila Prabhupada writes, figuratively, the queen is supposed to be the disciple of the king. Thus, when the mortal body of the spiritual master expires, his disciples should cry exactly as the queen cries when the king leaves his body. However, the disciple and spiritual master are never separated, because the spiritual master always keeps company with the disciple as long as the disciple follows strictly the instructions of the spiritual master. This is called the association of vani, or words. Physical presence is called vapu. And so everyone learned that, vani and vapu at that time, As long as the spiritual master is physically present, the disciple should serve the physical body of the spiritual master. And when the spiritual master is no longer physically existing, the disciple should serve the instructions of the spiritual master. Now, Prabhupada, what he clearly means here is that when the spiritual master is present, the disciple should serve both the instructions and tend to his physical needs. And when the spiritual master leaves, then those instructions are the equivalent presence of the spiritual master. Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Okay, today, 46 years after Srila Prabhupada departed this world and re-entered Lord Krishna's eternal Leela in Goloka Vrindavan, these words are as pertinent as the day he wrote them so many decades ago. The fact is that Srila Prabhupada is and will remain the spiritual master of every person who imbibes his instructions, which are non-different from Lord Krishna's instructions, and those of all genuine spiritual masters in the disciplic succession, beginning with Lord Krishna, and who follows them religiously. The designation spiritual master or guru refers not only to the realized soul who awards one initiation, gives one a new name, and accepts one's vows to follow the principles and practices of Bhakti Yoga, but also to that Vaishnava whose instructions form the central guiding principles of one's life. So the difference is these terms, many of you know, Diksha and Shiksha Guru. The Diksha is the initiating spiritual master, and as Prabhupada points out in his books, that oftentimes one who is the Shiksha Guru for some time becomes a Diksha Guru. And that was certainly so with Srila Prabhupada throughout his movement. He was giving all this instruction, and the devotees were accepting them, imbibing them, following them, and then they would take Diksha. So he's both Shiksha and Diksha. But when Prabhupada left, he no longer could be the Diksha Guru. Some claim that he could, but he couldn't be anymore. But he could still be and was and is the Shiksha Guru for every sincere member of his society. And so in that way, we can feel his presence. That's the whole point here. The conclusion is that those who imbibe Srila Prabhupada's instructions from his books and other media, including his ever-growing legion of sincere followers, and who follow them strictly, can intensely feel his presence in their lives and swim in the powerful current of his compassion. The following is a Sanskrit poem glorifying Srila Prabhupada, written in 1980 by a remarkable devotee scholar named Kushakrata Das. He actually wrote poems in Sanskrit as well. He was so skilled in Sanskrit. Did a lot of translating also. I rendered it into English about 20 years ago. The concluding verse embodies the theme of this essay. So this is called the Prabhupada Kirtyashtaka, 8 verses glorifying Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to give a little background, hopefully it isn't too intrusive. Tambura, which I used to play before this came out. Let's see if it works.
Battery 100%.
Sorry about that.
Thomas's icon touched.
Can't shut it off. Okay. Nope. Okay. Shri Shri Navadvipa Para Pradipa Sandipyamana Satato Bhuviha Chaitastamohanti Yasya Yatnam Namamitam Shri Prabhupada Devam. The transcendental lamp of Navadvip, Gauranga Dev. He took with great endeavor round the world the souls to save, who long had dwelt in darkness, never chanting Krishna's name. To Srila Prabhupada I bow, his glories I proclaim. Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Prachoditak Shri Vyasadya Kosham Kushalam Kripalu Samlecha Vagdesha Chaye Dadadhyan Namamitam Shri Prabhupada Devam. The sacred treasure left by Vyasa and other learned saints he rendered into English, free of speculation's taints. And thus he mercifully fulfilled Sri Saraswati's aim. To Srila Prabhupada I bow, his glories I proclaim. Achadyate adpadatarka drishya Govinda murchu jvala bhaskarena Advaiti kadhyota kulam jagatyam Namamitam Shri Prabhupada Devam. The brilliant sun of Lord Govinda's form is shining bright throughout this world because of his sharp logic's awesome might. That sun makes all the Mayavadi glowworms hide in shame. To Srila Prabhupada I bow, his glories I proclaim. Yasyaiva yatnena purana raja Ganga malaki shabakeli hangsa Satstotra ratna vahati aloke Namamitam Shri Prabhupada Devam. The pristine Ganges of the Bhagavat flows everywhere. Because of his great effort, in that stream the sages' prayers are gems, and Krishna's pastimes are swans sporting unrestrained. To Srila Prabhupada I bow, his glories I proclaim. Sri Radhika Krishna Padara Vinde Sahasaritsu Shatamandireshu Aropayadyo Marude Pritivyam Namamitam Shri Prabhupada Devam. Ensuring that his mission's victory would be complete, he planted Sri Sri Radha Krishna's charming lotus feet in temples by the dozen and in countless hearts unchained. To Srila Prabhupada I bow, his glories I proclaim. Kaushalyada yasya sahasra shastra shastrati varshai pratihanyatehi chandakaler mohacha mohatena namamitam Shri Prabhupada Devam. The fierce and formidable army led by wicked Kali is being slain by arrow showers, volley upon volley. Those arrows are his all-auspicious books of spotless fame. To Srila Prabhupada I bow, his glories I proclaim. Nanala sudden goda soda prakasha, palachito stapita eva yena. Krishnanuchinta janasanga vriksho, namamitam Shri Prabhupada devam. The Hare Krishna movement's a desire tree whose fruits are all the splendid ways Lord Gaura's army wins recruits. To plant that tree upon this earth, from Krishna's realm he came. To Srila Prabhupada I bow, his glories I proclaim. Yo nityada jivati daivikishu, nijasu shikshasu sahanugami, kripambudi nanda sutashri tatma, namami tam Shri Prabhupada devam. An ocean of compassion he has taken shelter of, Shri Nanda's son with all his being in everlasting love. He lives on by his words, whose followers with him remain. To Srila Prabhupada I bow, his glories I proclaim. And I added this 9th verse. Many of these poems, they have a Palashruti, so I added this. I pray that those who hear this hymn, which shines the brilliant light of Srila Prabhupada's renown in Kali Yuga's night, will soon attain firm faith in his instructions, so that they may one day join him in Golok and there with Krishna stay. Gaur Premanandi. So, forgive the theatrics, but I thought I'd offer that. So that's my offering to Srila Prabhupada. And I'm not sure if Maharaj is coming, but we'll continue. Who would like to continue? Maybe Yamuna? Oh, Kanchanbala. I'm sorry. Kanchanbala, you have something? Oh, Siddhanta's here. Okay. Did you prepare something, Kanchanbala? Okay, you read your thing. She always has the best offering. Whenever she would read her Vyasa Puja offering, I would think, oh, we should compile these in a book. All these wonderful remembrances of Prabhupada. All right, so maybe this chair will suffer so long as I keep this on here.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most humble obeisances at the dust of your transcendental lotus feet on this most sobering day and always. I am eternally indebted to you, more than can I really understand. In recent times, I have been listening to pastimes of Srila Prabhupada in preparation coming to the West. Her Grace Daivi Shakti has been speaking in Vrindavan, which is so relishable to hear. From 1958 to 1965, Srila Prabhupada had close relationships with all the residents of Vrindavan, from scholars, pujaris, brahmins, shopkeepers to the children. They had great respect for Srila Prabhupada and knew he wanted to preach in the West, even though they couldn't conceive it could happen successfully. When Srila Prabhupada returned to the Holy Dham with his foreign disciples, the residents were so proud of him and had great affection for him. They did dandavats to Srila Prabhupada and he embraced them, introducing them to his disciples as he had an individual relationship with each one of them. To begin to endeavor to wrap around any kind of comprehension how Srila Prabhupada prepared beforehand to come to the West, landing in America, a true culture shock, exhibits Srila Prabhupada's unadulterated pure spiritual potency, and how he so humbly and dexterously engaged one and all. The qualification required to everyone was and is sincerity and devotion to the spiritual master in Krishna. I was reminded recently a beautiful excerpt from Jamuna Devi's book, A Life of Unalloyed Devotion. Quote, Srila Prabhupada had a personal relationship with every one of his disciples, and each was a wonder to behold. My sister Janaki's was special. She was his first female disciple and behaved like the youngest daughter in a family. She always spoke her mind to him, and he often called her his naughty daughter or his little mother. She loved to surprise him by giving gifts she found or had been given, whether it be a gold ring or something inexpensive. Once she decorated his plate with little Chinese paper umbrellas, and Srila Prabhupada, encouraging her, told her how Radharani and the gopis always decorated everything very nicely for Krishna. He knew how to draw out the best in each of us to make each of us feel as though our service was necessary to him and to his mission, unquote. Afterwards, I thought of remembering and cannot forget. I was living at home underaged, and I had written a 6-page letter to His Divine Grace telling everything I was doing. At that time, I wasn't allowed to go to the temple. A devotee gave me their 8-inch Lord Jagannath deities to worship at home. I had written that I had an altar, sewed outfits for Lord Jagannath, and decorated the altar with natural things which I thought were beautiful, like cattails, moss, and textured bark. Srila Prabhupada wrote back such a kind and encouraging letter. Quote, I duly have received your letter and noted the contents very gladly. My sincere blessings are for you for your nice prosecution of Krishna consciousness. Whatever you are doing at the present moment is approved by me, and I think on account of your becoming a sincere soul, Krishna is dictating from within, and you are doing things so nicely. There are 2 gurus, one internal and the other external. The internal guru is Krishna himself seated in everyone's heart, and the external guru is the spiritual master. So a sincere devotee is helped both externally and internally. To the sincere devotee, the internal guru Krishna dictates, but the thing has to be confirmed by the external guru. Then it is all right. I am very glad that you don't go out and keep indoors engaging yourself in Krishna consciousness activities, unquote. Srila Prabhupada's unending patience is all the more evident as the years went on. It is magnified, revealing how much more knowledge was disclosed to us all, from the standards of deity worship to all aspects of devotional service, purifying our minds and our whole existence. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Krishna says, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto Matak Smritir Jnanamahopam Cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By Krishna's causeless mercy, we have come in contact with Srila Prabhupada as our beloved spiritual master and grand spiritual master. I pray always to remember and never forget our priceless fortune. Even though I see I am not qualified, I know for a fact my whereabouts would be otherwise unknown, and it is by the unlimited compassion and grace of Srila Prabhupada that he has accepted me to be in his loving service and being in his encompassing shelter. I beg to remain always your humble servant, Kanchanbala Dasi.
Thank you for allowing me to say something. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Niravrishesha Shunavari Pasitade Starane Om Agyanatamarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Oh, okay. Thank you. So I thought about various things to present on this most auspicious day. And they're actually opposite each other as far as the mood goes. One is, of course, Prabhupada had all the 26 qualities in full of a Vaishnava. One of them being grave, which means you never know the mind of a spiritual master. Prabhupada, you never knew what he was thinking. Serious, he's the guru, which means heavy. So that's definitely there, we know that. But a lot of second generation and third generations don't know that Prabhupada had a sense of humor. He had a quick wit. So he was a person. He was a teacher, but he was also a personality that you could relate to, and from that sense of humor we could develop attraction and love for him. So I'll speak about 3 or 4 of those little small anecdotes that give a glimpse of Prabhupada's wit and his humor. And then I'll follow with a story from Pizza Das, who's no longer with us, more on the serious side of things, where Pita was personally in Prabhupada's room the last couple of weeks before he left his body. So that's the disappearance, heavier side of the stories that I'll try to relate tonight. So as far as Prabhupada's wit and humor, in the early days, Prabhupada one time was in San Francisco. And at that time they called him Swamiji. Prabhupada hadn't been a title yet that he accepted or wanted his disciples to refer to him as. So this is a story told by Guru Das. Prabhupada was walking to the temple outside early in the morning, and a Mataji came up and said, "Oh, Swamiji, you look so nice today." And Prabhupada Swamiji immediately said, "Oh, just today?" Very quick wit. Another time he was in London, riding in a car with Tribhuvanath Prabhu, and they were passing by the Buckingham Palace, you know, the palace of the Queen, or now King. But as you probably know, the guards outside Buckingham Palace, they wear these big furry hats. And so that reminded Tribhuvanath something he wanted to impress Srila Prabhupada with. And Tribhuvanath said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, one of the Queen's guards has become a devotee," thinking that he was going to impress Prabhupada. And Prabhupada immediately said, "Oh, what about the Queen?" Stopped him in his tracks. He couldn't say anything else. Another time in Dallas, this is a story related to me by Kumkum Devi Dasi, very nice devotee. And in Dallas, they would always, when Prabhupada came, they always tried to encourage people outside the temple to come and speak with Prabhupada. Prabhupada liked to engage in discussions and banter and philosophical discussions with members of the public, or whether they be professors or scientists or professionals in this way. And they knew of a Indian gentleman who didn't come to the temple much, but they knew of him, and he was a scientist. And they got a hold of his phone number, and they called him and explained that Srila Prabhupada, their teacher, their spiritual master, is coming and would like to say hello and engage in a simple conversation. And the man accepted, and he came, sat in front of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, very gentlemanly, always a gentleman. Vaishnava's definition of a Vaishnava, he's a perfect gentleman. So Srila Prabhupada was engaging in a conversation with him and finding out what his name and where he lives, what he does. And the man said, "Oh, I'm a scientist." And Prabhupada said, "Oh, what kind of science do you engage in?" And he said, well, we experiment on animals. And Prabhupada was nonplussed. He said, oh, what kind of animals? The man said, well, we mostly experiment on cats. And Prabhupada said, oh, all animals don't get a chance? The man immediately was, he got it. So a little sense of sarcasm from Prabhupada that we don't normally see. But this was a time that bit of sarcasm, because Prabhupada was an elderly gentleman, older than the scientist, it had effect on him, and he shrunk down and realized his position and what he was engaged in. Maybe wasn't the most beneficial thing. And then one more light story. There are many more. You can see them in the Prabhupada Memory Series on YouTube. Y'all subscribe to that channel? Y'all have YouTube at home? How many are subscribing to the channel Prabhupada Memories? 1, 2, 3, okay, 4. So that's maybe a quarter here. So I recommend it. Prabhupada Memories, if you can remember that. Highly recommended. So one other story from the Memory Series is from Kaladri Prabhu, who spent many years in New Vrindavan. And one afternoon, Prabhupada was hosting many guests there. And the typical thing for Prabhupada, wherever he went, he always wanted prasadam handed out, distributed to everyone that attended his lectures or his darshans. And this particular afternoon, they had arranged and they made and offered gulab jamans, big jar of gulab jamans. So when the discussion, when the darshan was over, Prabhupada said to Kaladri, pass out prasadam. So he went and got the jar of gulab jamans, and he looked at the jar, and they were filled with ants. Ants all over the gulab jamans. And so Kaladri said to Srila Prabhupada, oh, Srila Prabhupada, I can't hand these out, and there are ants all over the gulab jamans. And Prabhupada immediately said, oh, that's all right, they don't eat very much. So this is a personality that we can fall in love with. So this is a few pages long. Do we have time that I can narrate this story? Are we okay? Oh, okay. All right. No, I won't. So this is again from Pita Das, who was Prabhupada's disciple. And at this particular time, he was with Prabhupada in Prabhupada's room constantly during his final days. And he was able to be there because he was assisting Tamal Krishna Goswami and preaching in China. So he was like Tamal's right-hand man. And if you don't know, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was very intimate and close with Prabhupada. So he was able to get Pita to be there. He wasn't, asked to leave. So Tamal was pretty heavy. So he got sanctioned by Tamal's sanction to stay with him and with Prabhupada during this time. So this is Pita's story, first-hand eyewitness story. And these are his words. After you were with Prabhupada for a while, you got used to his weakened physical condition. But it was so devastating for any new devotees who would come in that they would start crying. And it would be so pathetic that we'd all start crying. At one point, Prabhupada asked, why are you all crying? We said, Srila Prabhupada, we are crying because you're so sick, and we are afraid that you may leave. And then Prabhupada said, I will never leave you. I will live forever in my books. I will never leave you. I'll live forever within my books, so there is no reason to cry. He said, old people die. That is natural. He said, when a young person dies, that's some mistake. because young persons should live until they are old. When they are old, they should die. And as for me, it's natural. It's a natural thing, so don't cry. Then one devotee said, but Srila Prabhupada, we're crying because we can't be without you. And when you leave, we won't know how to communicate with you. Prabhupada replied, oh, I will communicate with you through the heart. I will communicate with you through your heart. He said, I will come to you in your dreams as Chaitya Guru. I will communicate with you through your dreams. Now, Pizza says, during this interview, he said, I found that a little controversial because I thought my godbrothers wouldn't have approved it. But Prabhupada had said it. Prabhupada said it right there, that he would communicate with us through dreams. Sometimes Prabhupada would say, all your mothers are very good. You all had very good mothers. He said, yes, all you boys had very good mothers. But we felt our mothers were meat eaters. But Prabhupada said, because the qualities of the son, they come from the mother. He said, so you are all such good devotees. So I know you have good mothers. And Prabhupada would compliment us and say, you know, my Guru Maharaj left his body out of the disgust for his disciples, not following his order. He was disgusted, so he left out of disgust. Prabhupada said, but I'm not disgusted with you. I'm very satisfied with you. Never think I'm not happy with you. Prabhupada said, I'm very pleased with my disciples. Then Prabhupada said, and I'm very happy to have your association. You're all very good association. Pita said, I remember one time a Krishna Das Babaji, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, had come in. He was a great devotee and was always jovial and laughing. He came in and Prabhupada would speak Bengali with him a lot of the time. But I remember when he first came in, Prabhupada said to him, Babaji Maharaj, just look at my disciples. See how advanced they are. See how much they love me. See how attentive they are to me in every word. They are just there to listen. Every word I say, they're just listening to every word. They are so obedient, and they are so devoted to me. See how advanced they are. And then Babaji Maharaj said, yes, they are advanced. And Pita said, I couldn't understand what they meant, advanced? Prabhupada said we were advanced, but these were two Paramahamsas, and I am so full of material desires. My mind was just filled with all kinds of nonsense in those days, and even worse than now. But Prabhupada was saying we were advanced, and I couldn't understand that. But then I remembered Prabhupada said why we were advanced. They are so attentive to me. They love me so much. And they are devoted to me. They want to please me so much. They are listening to every one of the words that I say. Then Pita said, I realized, oh, that's an advanced devotee. Advanced devotee is the one who is the most attentive to Srila Prabhupada, who is so devoted to Prabhupada, who listens to his every word. This is advanced devotee. This, to me, is what Prabhupada was teaching me and teaching us all. But to me, that's what it meant, and it took me many years to understand this. Many years. Another time, a lot of devotees who were later appointed as potential gurus were in the room with Prabhupada. Prabhupada called them Ritvik Acharyas, transparent to the previous Acharya. Those were his words. I'll repeat it. Ritvik Acharyas, transparent to the previous Acharya. Pita said, I never heard Prabhupada refer to the 11 selected devotees to initiate in the future as gurus, but Prabhupada called them Ritvik Acharyas, transparent to the previous Acharyas. Now, it was everyone's understanding that while Prabhupada was still present, those 11 selected disciples would initiate on Prabhupada's behalf. And then after his departure, those future initiates would be the disciples of the initiating guru, and thus become the grand disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada even said that he would be grandfather guru. Prabhupada said at one point, this is Pita again, he was in the room. Prabhupada said at one point, of my disciples I see no one who has my qualities. And then he said, but if I look at this one or at that one, some qualities I see. And if I look at a group of them, some percentage of my qualities are certainly there. He said, so I have some hope that this movement can continue on. He said, so the test of your love for me will be shown how well you work together. Pita said, I felt Prabhupada was saying that no one person was going to be the ultimate leader, but as a group, meaning the GBC, could manage the society. These are Pita's realizations. The GBC, Pita said, the GBC was a group of devotees who together would have a percentage of Srila Prabhupada's qualities. Even the GBC together made up only a percentage of Srila Prabhupada's qualities. This I heard from Prabhupada himself. This is Pita. So we have some hope that this society will go on. And we see and this was at the time when I interviewed him, 30 years or more it has gone on, and it will go on. Then Prabhupada said of his sannyas disciples that if they fall down after he leaves, they can never be given sannyas again. He said if you do, their fall down will go on forever. He said, so if a sannyasi falls down, they can never be given back. He said, only I can do this. Only I can reinstate them. You cannot reinstate them. So this was the order that Prabhupada gave at that time. Then Prabhupada said that he wanted $1 million put in a fixed account. Just remember, this is his final days. He's lying in his bed. These are his final days. Prabhupada said, and this is a quote, I want $1 million put in a fixed account, and I want that money never to be withdrawn, and the interest on this money will go to renovate the holy places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, those that are Gupta and Lupta, those that are covered or lost. We want them to be revealed and brought back. So then the devotees in the room asked Srila Prabhupada, which ones? The ones in Bengal, the ones in Bangladesh, or the ones in Orissa? Which ones first? Prabhupada said, the ones in Bengal first. He said, but before that, before we do any of this renovation of these holy places, I want my godbrother, Sridhar Maharaj's mat finished first. He said, because he's worked his whole life to establish this Sri Chaitanya Saraswati mat. He said, I want this finished because before he dies. So before we start renovating these holy places, that money should go to him first. A little history here. Srila Prabhupada at that time, although he was 82 years old, didn't allow his female disciples to come into his room. He didn't want criticism of his sannyasa ashram. Even though Srila Prabhupada's body was completely devastated, he still followed very strictly. He was a Paramahamsa devotee. He still followed very strict rules of sannyas, but he said his female disciples could stand at the window near his bed and hear him, but not come into the room. That's how strict Srila Prabhupada was. He was the acharya, and that was his standard. Then another time, I remember in the room, Srila Prabhupada would talk about his godbrothers, and he said, I am the only son of my Guru Maharaj. He said, I am the only son. He said, the son inherits the business of the father, and I'm the only one who has inherited the business of my father. He said, the rest of my godbrothers are all like daughters, because the daughter stays within the house of the spiritual master. They don't get the business. They stay within the father's house. So they are all daughters. Anyone heard this before? No. Okay. He said, my Guru Maharaj only had one son, and that is me. He said, so I'm the only son of my Guru Maharaj, and all my godbrothers are daughters. And then he said, the Gaudiya Mat deviated so much from my spiritual master, but they are still the best representatives of Lord Chaitanya on this planet, next to me. So next to Srila, this is Pita now talking, so next to Srila Prabhupada, they were the best. So first is Prabhupada, then is the Gaudiya Mat. That's how Prabhupada saw it. Bon Maharaj and Narayan Maharaj, contemporaries of Srila Prabhupada, came to see Srila Prabhupada. At first they spoke in English, and then later they started to speak in Hindi. When they spoke in Hindi, I left because I felt Prabhupada wouldn't want me in the room. But when he spoke in English to them, Prabhupada asked for their forgiveness. He said, I ask you your forgiveness, because in preaching sometimes you have to point out the faults of others as examples for your disciples. He said, so I've had to criticize you in so many different ways because I am an Acharya. I am the Acharya. I have to criticize like this as examples to my disciples. He said, and if I have offended you, I am very sorry. I am sorry I have offended you. And immediately Narayan Maharaj said, you can never offend. You are our guru. And then they started to speak Hindi, and then I left the room. There's again Pita. Pita said, I stayed outside until I saw them leave. And then I saw Tamal Krishna Maharaj taking Bon Maharaj to the gate. I went up and listened to them. In those days, you could just walk up and listen to the intimate older devotees speaking. Bon Maharaj looked at both of us and said, do not hate Krishna. Prabhupada is about to enter Radha Krishna Nitya-lila. And I thought, why would we hate Krishna for this? I didn't think that could ever enter my brain to hate Krishna for Prabhupada leaving us. Of course, I didn't want Prabhupada to go. We went to see Prabhupada again, and then Prabhupada wanted to talk about his samadhi. He said how and where it should be. And he said that he wanted to be buried in salt. He said that his Guru Maharaj had been buried in rock salt and that bugs will never attack the body. The body will remain for hundreds and hundreds of years, and bugs and insects will never attack the body. So he explained about the details for the samadhi, and that Narayan Maharaj would conduct the ceremony. And then he said, 2 weeks after the samadhi, there will be a festival, and I will invite all my godbrothers to come and speak. And then Bhavananda said, but Prabhupada, Bon Maharaj, do you want him to speak? Prabhupada said, yes, of course I want him to speak. Bhavananda said, but Prabhupada, Bon Maharaj will certainly say something bad about you, so I don't think we should let him speak. Are you sure you want him to speak, Prabhupada? Prabhupada said, let him speak. Pita said, I remember after Srila Prabhupada was placed in the Samadhi, Bon Maharaj did come and he did speak. He only spoke in Hindi, so I asked an Indian devotee to translate what he was saying. He told me Bon Maharaj said, personally, I never preached to hippies. I only preached to the intellectual class of men. And he said, but when you preach to Westerners, along with that comes money. Srila Prabhupada and his godbrothers had their seemingly insignificant differences, but they were insignificant in comparison to the service that they were performing for their spiritual master. This is what Pita said, this is what I learned from Srila Prabhupada at this time. Many lessons here. We still okay?
Well, who else wants to speak? I'll say it. Okay, good word and the time's good.
All right, let me say the last thing, very important. I'll speak it very quickly. This is the essential part of Prabhupada's final days and the lesson, final lesson. So thank you for your patience, okay? Another time, Srila Prabhupada said that he wanted to go to Govardhan. It was getting time for the Govardhan Puja, and he said, you know, we can go to Govardhan for Govardhan Puja. He said, when we go there, we can sleep outside under the trees, and we don't even have to bring prasadam because the residents will feed us. He was encouraging us to go to Govardhan. Then he said, what is the best way to go? And then he said, sannyas means you get on an ox cart and you preach village to village. This is what a real sannyasi is. You never stop. This is real sannyas. He said, so I want an ox cart brought, and I want to go to Govardhan. Then the Kaviraj, you know Kaviraj, the doctor. The Kaviraj said, oh, no. Before the Kaviraj told us, Srila Prabhupada is always feeling the pain of fire. He told us this at the entrance to Srila Prabhupada's room of the guest house, that because there was no flesh on Prabhupada's body, that all the nerves were laying on his bones. He said that this must feel like fire to Prabhupada, but he never complains. He said, this isn't a human being. This is a demigod. That's what the physician, the Kaviraj, said. Kaviraj said, sometimes I check his heartbeat and sometimes it's normal. He said, but sometimes I check it and there's no heartbeat at all. And again, I will check his heartbeat and it is normal. Sometimes I check and it's just a faint heart. He said, Prabhupada, you're controlling your heart. But he concluded by saying, Prabhupada, if you want to go to Govardhan, then you should call for some flower airplane, and that's the only way you can go to Govardhan. You can't go on some ox cart. You can't go. I will not recommend it. Only by flower airplane you can go. By this time, the Kaviraj had been convinced of Prabhupada's divinity. Like most Indian people who want to see some magic, here is the real miracle that Prabhupada was still in his body. That was the miracle because anybody else would have been dead 6 months before. But when Prabhupada wanted to go to Govardhan, everyone said, Srila Prabhupada, we don't think this is a good idea. All the devotees were in the room. All the men were there pleading Prabhupada not to go. Prabhupada said, if I die in this room, it is like being killed by Ravana. He said Marichi was given the choice that if he didn't become a deer and go and tempt Ram away from Sita, that Ravana would kill him. And if he became a deer, Ram would kill him. So he told Ravana, better to be killed by Ram. So better to be killed by Ram by going to Govardhan. If I stay in this room, it's like being killed by Ravana. Some chimed in, but Prabhupada, you can't go. The doctor said you won't even make it to the gate. If we carry you, you won't even make it to the gate. There was a big discussion around Prabhupada's bed, and Prabhupada said, you have to do this outside. It was too exhausting to hear all this going on. Go outside. So all the devotees went to Prabhupada's garden, and they had a big discussion. I remember Hamsadud and Lokanath were in favor of Prabhupada's request, and everybody else was against his wishes. I was on the side headed by Tamal Krishna Maharaj against Prabhupada making the trek to Govardhan. This went on until the cart retrieved by Lokanath came to the Krishna Balaram gate. Then it was time to move Prabhupada from the bed to the cart. On top of everything else, it was nearing dusk. Not only were we going to put Prabhupada on the cart, which was probably going to kill him, but it was going to be at night, which would be even worse. This is what we feared. So we all went, myself included, positioned ourselves around Prabhupada's bed and begged, please, please don't make us put you on this cart. Prabhupada didn't say anything. And then we begged him, and we begged him, and we were all crying. Then Prabhupada said, if it worries you so much, I don't need to go. It was just like this whole anxiety level just went from 50,000 down to 0. And now we could relax. People started moving out of Prabhupada's room until there were only a few of us, headed by Tamal Krishna Goswami. As far as Tamal Krishna is concerned, I was so impressed by his excellent service that he gave to Srila Prabhupada. Even people who didn't like Tamal Krishna Maharaj, they saw how he served Prabhupada. And we were all impressed. No one could have served Prabhupada like he did because he was very intimate with Prabhupada. At this point in the room, however, Tamal got very fried. He went up to Prabhupada and said, you know, Prabhupada, we can't understand why you do this. Why you insist for us to take you to Govardhan when we get so upset. We got so worked up thinking that if we put you on the cart, then you would die. Then we become more protective of you, even more than before. I just can't take it, Prabhupada. Why do you do this? He almost screamed at Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada said, it is my duty. Tamal Krishna Goswami said, what? Srila Prabhupada said, it is my duty to make you love me more. Tamal said, oh. And he walked away. Pita said, I just remember Prabhupada saying, to make you love me more. Pita's realization was, whatever love I had for Prabhupada, just multiplied like 1,000 times. Prabhupada just made you love him so much more. If you're with Prabhupada, whatever love you had for Prabhupada just increased. His duty, he said, was to make us love him more. What a wonderful duty. We already love Prabhupada, but he is trying for us to love him more. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravana Pacharane Nivishesha Shinivadi Prashtata Deshatarane Om Agyana Tamarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So I just wanted to, oh, by the way, just Siddhanta Prabhu, thank you so much. Once again, I know you've been thanked millions of times for putting those beautiful videos together on YouTube. In fact, my wife and I just heard this one here a couple weeks ago, because she always plays them. She's like on her third time or so, or something like that, or more. And it's just so wonderful because, you know, remembering Srila Prabhupada, think about Srila Prabhupada, having a relationship with Srila Prabhupada is so much enhanced by what you did putting those videos together, and they're going to be with us forever. So thank you very, very much. Yeah, I was just recalling, like Devotee Prabhu was saying earlier, that, you know, both events, the appearance of the spiritual master and the disappearance, are both considered glorious. Right. Yeah, Dravida actually, I guess I almost take it for granted that Dravida is not going to say anything that's not authorized by Srila Prabhupada. But yeah, according to Srila Prabhupada, yeah. But like Dravida was conveying, it's like, you know, the appearance is such a wonderful celebration. But I think for us who were, you know, I was in Dallas, and I was doing a Sankirtan to help support the temple and that service. And I remember we were having 24-hour kirtan for Srila Prabhupada day after day, you know, around the time when he was getting ready to depart. And with his departure, there was certainly a feeling of emptiness and sadness. So it was a hard time when that happened. But when kind of reflecting back, you know, on my own, you know, when I came to Krishna consciousness, I remember the devotees told me that from the day one, going to the temple, they said, just listen to Prabhupada's tapes. They said it because they always be getting the new tapes as they came in. You know, I was in the Phoenix temple. That's where I joined. So he said, listen to Srila Prabhupada's tapes. He said, even if you don't understand it, just listen, and eventually you'll understand, and it'll also purify you very much. So I had full faith in the devotees, so I would attentively listen to Srila Prabhupada speak on these tapes. And I remember that carried me, like, back then the Bhakti program was a little different. The second day after I joined the temple, I was flown out for traveling Sankirtan. But it was good. It was very purifying. So San Antonio, Texas, I was with Vatsal Prabhu and Dharpada, Dhanakali, and Janapavana. And we were doing Sankirtan in San Antonio. But I remember after some weeks, they said, hey, we're going to go see Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles. So this is really exciting. And Vatsal was great. He would always have me, whenever he was driving the old Volkswagen van, he would have us read from Prabhupada's Krishna book, you know. So, but I remember the first time we saw Srila Prabhupada, it was in Los Angeles. Along the side there, they said, okay, just assemble on the sidewalk. Srila Prabhupada, when he comes back from his morning walk, will come out, you know, to go into the temple room. And I remember as a young devotee, I was 17 at the time, how it was just such an amazing event. It was just, I was just overwhelmed, and I was also shy as a young devotee, but it was just a real magical event. And I just recall that, once again, just that whole mood the devotees had instilled in me, and I think that we can all imbibe today, is just, you know, to connect with Srila Prabhupada, to hear from him. You know, not only hearing his tapes, not only watching the nice YouTube videos, the memories of Srila Prabhupada, but reading Prabhupada's books. And in context of this hearing, there's another thing that happened. We were in Los Angeles doing Sankirtan, and then we got to follow Srila Prabhupada up to Berkeley. They're moving from the old San Francisco temple to the newer Berkeley temple. So we were there, Radha Damodar were there. I remember seeing Vishnu Jan and Tamal Krishna and, you know, all the Radha Damodar devotees. I remember like to be 200 of us in a line in the morning, take showers from Mangalartik. But I remember we would get it. Srila Prabhupada would be speaking at the classes, and we would always try to get as close as we could to the Vyasa-san. But it was like, you know, you couldn't even budge. Everybody would try to get in so close. But Srila Prabhupada would walk in. He was just so golden and beautiful. But there was one event that a temple president, Bahulashva was the temple president, and he asked that some devotees go with Srila Prabhupada was going to have a speaking engagement at a Life member's house. And they grabbed me and some other brahmacharis. So I remember going there, and they said, he's going to speak in Hindi, but once again, listen to Srila Prabhupada, be attentive, and it's all auspicious. It's wonderful. It's being with Srila Prabhupada. Of course, I was real enthusiastic to go, but the Balashva said after a little while. Oh. Hare Krishna. Balashva Prabhu said, after a little while, I'm going to flag you to come because we have to do some preparation for the Rath Yatra, the 1975 Rath Yatra. Jai Shri Radha Giri Hari. So we were in there listening, and probably me and 3 or 4 other brahmacharis who were just sitting very alert and sitting down, and Papa was speaking in Hindi. It was just wonderful being there and just watching him. And I remember at one point, Balashva went like this, signaled for us to go. So we started offering our obeisances, and Srila Prabhupada said, where are they going? And Balashva tried to explain. He said, no, I want them to stay. So I took that as a special blessing that Srila Prabhupada was pleased with us listening to him in that situation. So, but just reflecting over the years, how just by hearing from Srila Prabhupada, I mean, look what he's done. I mean, the first time I came in contact with devotees is I was reading different books on yoga and this and that, but a friend of mine brought a Back to Godhead. And before that, he brought me a magazine on Guru Maharaji, and I remember looking at it saying, this doesn't quite click with me. But he brought me the Back to Godhead to my home, and I saw the picture of Srila Prabhupada. I said, okay, where'd you get this from? He said, the Fry's food store up on the corner in Glendale, Arizona and Phoenix. So I said, let's go talk to the guy. So we went to talk to this devotee in the parking lot. He was with Radha Damodar. His name was Gopalacharya. And he had a cowboy hat on. And he was telling me all about, he gave me some more Back to Godheads, told me all about it. And some other, by Krishna's grace, in my heart, I said, well, maybe he needs a ride back to wherever he came from. So, that was 75. That was like in May of 75. So I remember I asked him, do you need a ride to wherever you came from? He said, no, somebody's going to come. And he said, oh, wait a minute, actually, I do need a ride. So for sure, we got to take him to the temple there. And it was just by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada speaking and his picture and his words that, we got to go to this temple. They had a nice preaching center in Phoenix. And it just, my whole life has been carried by the mercy and the love of Srila Prabhupada through his books, through hearing from him, through his temples, through the association of all of you, all you wonderful devotees. And it's so nice to see how, even though I was kind of thinking back to that analogy about the setting sun. In fact, recently I've been listening to some talks by Srila Prabhupada, and he talks about that Krishna he doesn't disappear, he doesn't pass away. It's just sometimes he's within our visions, and then sometimes he's gone. So in a similar way, Prabhupada is with us, even though may not physically be present. You really get that sense, and you get that sense because how much life there is in Srila Prabhupada's movement and in Srila Prabhupada's devotees and what we have here. So just, I was thinking one other time, you talk about Vani and Vapu. I was in Detroit. By that time, I had been fortunate. Nalini Kanta said, okay, we're not, the small preaching center closed in Phoenix. He said, we're going to have you join Satsvarup Maharaj's library party. But what I would do is Sankirtan and Back to Godhead and book distribution to help support the library party. But I remember we were in Detroit, and they said, okay, we got to go see Srila Prabhupada in Detroit. It was really wonderful. He would speak every day. But during the day, we got to go to downtown Detroit to try to do Sankirtan, distribute books and everything. And it was tough. But some of the sweetest times at that time reflecting was driving in the van and playing, like Srila Prabhupada's prayers to the 6 Goswamis, and just reflecting, feeling that connection with Srila Prabhupada in our heart by doing that service, distributing books, and then getting to actually see him, the next morning, to give Bhagavatam class and everything. And it was really, really sweet. So that connection could be there through service, through hearing. And I just want to thank Srila Prabhupada so much for everything he's given me, and you know, I mean, what he's given to all of us, and I'm just ever indebted. And I pray that, you know, I've recently retired. I just pray that I can increase my service to Srila Prabhupada, and that when this body eventually falls away, just like Srila Prabhupada said it happened to all of us, that I can continue somehow or other in some capacity after I leave this body to serve Srila Prabhupada. So thank you, Srila Prabhupada, and Hare Krishna.
"34 years, and Yamuna Pati has always been a fixture here. And he was a working man, you know, but he would come and he'd come to the programs. Sunday we'd see him. So now, after all these years, he's resumed his book distribution career. He's going out with the boys and read the scores and everything. So you can see that's really where your heart is at.
So sweet, and I tell you, Bruce, if you get a chance, the book distribution I did back then was also sweet. It was also wonderful, you know, being able to attempt that service. But I tell you, there's so many good-hearted people out there. You know, someone is saying like there's a Brahmin on every corner. You know, you feel people receptivity, you feel the intelligence, and you feel that they're genuinely interested. So if you get a chance to share Srila Prabhupada's books, do it, you know. And I guess I should unabashedly make a plug-in for Govardhan and Dvijamani that the Christmas marathon's coming up. So if you have a few minutes to spare, join up, hook up with Govardhan Prabhu. And I tell you, they're both so supportive, like kind of getting my feet wet again with doing the book distribution. You know, a little trepidation, you know, can I do this? You know, what's it going to be like? You know, both these Prabhus are like, they're right there. Oh yeah, you just do this. You sit with them a while and the magic rubs off on you. So it's really, really sweet. So thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Anyone else want to offer a little thing? Doesn't have to be so long, or you don't have to quote it Sanskrit or anything. Jai. You can just go up there.
Okay. But,
Yeah,
oh,
you're
okay.
Okay.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pacharani Nivashesha Shani Padipaskata Nivashitarani. This evening I just wanted to take the opportunity to share with everyone the Srila Prabhupada Stotram. My name? Oh. My name is Guru Krishna Das. I'm a disciple of Satrip Das Goswami. He's the author of the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And because I kind of lost my voice last Sunday, I was thinking maybe we would... does everybody have their cell phones? Could you please turn them on? And just type in Srila Prabhupada Stotram. I found it at Hare Krishna Temple portal. So harekrishna.de/ I think then it says Prabhupada. Usually we're telling you to turn them off, right?
So it's called
Srila Prabhupada Stotram, Stotram. And it was composed by Ananta Ram Shastri. Well, yeah, in Philadelphia, this is where it was introduced to me. Every day before Guru Puja would start, we would all chant the Prabhupada Stotram, and we would chant it with the same meter and melody as the Brahma Samhita. Has everybody found it? Where's your cell phone? Mataji? Maybe you can sit next to somebody and share your phone. How many of you are unfamiliar with the Prabhupada Stotra? Okay, so it's should be rewarding. But I just wonder if we could read out loud the English. Think we could do that? Does everybody know English pretty well? We could do the Sanskrit too, but I think Dravida would have to lead us in the Sanskrit. Oh, wow. Now we're really going to be treated. Should we do the English first and then the Sanskrit?
Why don't we do Sanskrit, English, Sanskrit, English?
Oh, okay.
Krishnaika cheta madamoha vinashakarin Madrishti gochara pabo papapada swamin Dosha bivritti padidushita manda buddhe Sanchindayami chadano tava bhakti heto. You read the English.
Oh Lord, oh Prabhupada, may you always be part of the object of my vision. Only the name of Krishna can destroy my pride and illusion. Although my mind and intelligence are contaminated by wicked inclinations, I nevertheless take shelter of your divine grace by constant meditation upon your lotus feet in causeless devotion.
Vrindavane Ramanareti Prasiddha Bhumau Tatrapi Krishna Balarama Supada Mule Gyanam Padam Padama Krishna Sudharmit Yuktam Dantastu Deva Prabhupada Namo Namaste.
In the most holy land of Vrindavan, in Ramanareti, at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Balaram, you are preaching the topmost knowledge of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the fountainhead of religion. O Master of the senses, O my Lord, Srila Prabhupada, let me offer my obeisances unto you.
All right, this one is in Chintamani. Namaste, namaste, kripa purna drishti. Namaste, namaste, mahananda datri. Namamo, namama, purna raksha raksha. Prasiddha prabho pahi mam daksha daksha.
I offer my obeisances unto the spiritual master of the entire world, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose glances are full of mercy and who is the bestower of transcendental bliss. O renowned Lord, protect me and kindly shower your compassion upon me again and again.
Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Pasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Let me offer my obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who is a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is always calm and joyful, and who is known by the name of Bhaktivedanta Swami.
Shri Banga Bhumi Janabhushana Goda Leela Gauranga Baba Padisarana Matra Shila Radha Madhava Pada Padma Mano Vilasin Ananda Rashi Prabhupada Namo Namaste.
The land of Bengal is worshipable by the whole world because Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes there. I offer my obeisances unto my divine spirit, divine master, who is full of bliss. He is always in the ecstasy of Lord Gauranga and is therefore immersed in the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha Madhav. So let's just read the comment. This stotram was compiled by Sri Ananta Ram Shastri, a Vaishnava Sanskrit scholar who was requested by Srila Prabhupada to assist him in the translation of the Srimad Bhagavatam commentaries of the various acharyas. It was composed and first sung directly in the presence of Srila Prabhupada at Sri Chandradoya Mandir, Mayapur Dham, at Gaur Purnima just before daily Guru Puja in 1976. In late 1976, Srila Prabhupada stated to a Gurukul teacher in Vrindavan that this stotra should be recited daily, and that by such recitation, the children and the devotees would develop strong faith, nishta, towards him. Yashodanandana Das. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So just a little something from my own humble realization. I joined just almost, let's see, it was my first visit to the temple was January 15. So November 14, December 14, January 15. So it was like 2 months after Prabhupada left the planet. And I didn't know anything at all. My friends had taken me to the temple, which you should definitely do. One time, Srila Prabhupada asked Brahmananda, said, "So, how did you join the temple?" "Oh, well, Brahmananda said, some friends of mine brought me to the temple, and I joined, but they didn't." And Prabhupada said, "Oh, same thing with me. My friend brought me to the temple and I joined, but he didn't." So bring your friends to the temple. It's quite possible they will join. But I was thinking, so many great personalities come and go. Krishna comes himself and blesses the planet, Mother Bhumi, with his lotus feet. And then he disappears from our sight. And then Lord Chaitanya comes after being begged by the devotees headed by Sri Advaita Acharya. And he comes and performs his pastimes, and he's dancing all over the world, all over the earth, planet, at least in Bengal and Orissa and Vrindavan. And then he disappears. And so every time a great personality comes, Mother Bhumi is overjoyed, and it's so much burden of sinful reactions and karmas are relieved from the earth planet. And then Srila Prabhupada comes and literally dances all over the world, in almost every major city. So many Rath Yatras were held, and he would actually personally dance in the streets. London, Paris, San Francisco, so many places, Australia, and then India. So Prabhupada leaves the planet, and it's just like an ocean of sorrow, Mother Bhumi, I can't even think how she must have felt, So the Prabhupada's coming and going it's just felt far and wide. And since he did leave the planet, his disciples and followers, they continue to spread the Krishna consciousness for the benefit of the whole planet. And of course, we're a part of that planet, and we've been given so much benefit. And so I was just thinking like that, how Srila Prabhupada's disciples were all just thrown into despair. I heard from so many devotees, and via the Siddhantas project, how it was that day when they heard that Prabhupada had left the planet. They just couldn't believe it. It's like, of course he's not gonna stay forever, but then they just couldn't believe it when he left. Vyasaki was preaching in Indonesia, and I think he was mentioned on the series that someone came to him, like, I don't know how he came. He was walked up to him or rushed up to him. I'm so sorry about what happened, about the situation. And Vyasaki was like, well, what happened? Oh, your spiritual master, he's left the planet. And here's Vyasaki basically on the street, outside, just not surrounded by loving God brothers or anything. Just, you can just imagine trying to, this is before all this technology. You had what did you have? You had the, telephone, but you also had the, television, but you didn't have the fax machines or the teletype or what was it? The telegrams or whatever. So you would just get this information like that, just like a wave of despair. By the time it was only 2 months later, but the devotees had completely recovered there in Hawaii and preaching strongly. And the attitude was very, very fired up, as we say. And that's when I came in. And they would come up to me and say, you're not going to get initiated by Srila Prabhupada, And it's like, oh, well, okay. I wasn't even thinking about initiation. I was just so overwhelmed by the wonderful devotees. Everything was so new, the knowledge, the deities, the chanting. I was just completely overwhelmed, And when they would say things like that, and I was like, oh, all right, But I was really thinking, is there going to be halava today? So, completely out of it, right? It's a new devotee. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
7:30, we're going to start the Pushpanjali. So there's a little more time. If no one wants to speak, we can have a kirtan, not a problem. That's the thing. In Hare Krishna, if you have nothing to do, have a kirtan. The best thing to do. I'm sorry?
Can I share a shloka?
You want to hear a shloka?
I share one.
You share a shloka. Yeah, you need a mic though. Is there a mic on that side? You can go there.
All right. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada being such a high vibrational divine energy, he spanned the entire scriptures of Hinduism, not just a Vaishnava order. But then I came across a translation of, in Bangalore ISKCON, I come from Bangalore, so in the ISKCON I came across a translation of Kulashekara Alvar's Mukundamala, some about 40-odd shlokas. And it really touched me because that translation, I think it was Prabhupada's, it's in our local language, and it's really very, very sweet. And so through our family, I have memorized some of the shlokas, and one of them is extremely touching. So I want to offer it at the feet of Prabhupada because for current times, he is the Acharya. So. Yadyad bhavyam bhavatu bhagavan purva karmanurupam yetat prarthyam mama bahumatam janma janmantarepi diviva bhuviva mamastu vaso narakeva narakantaka prakamam avadhirita sharadara vindau charanau te maranepi chintayami. Alvar says that however many lifetimes, whatever might have happened back then in my previous lifetimes, may it happen. I'm not going to try and prevent it because I know I've learned through wisdom, or probably however he has learned, we cannot prevent what is destined to happen, because it's 100% in the hands of Krishna. So that's what he means to say. So even if I get naraka, the hell, the boiling hell, let it be. I only think of your lotus feet, Krishna, and at the time of my death, I will think of your lotus feet. This touched me very much, because at the time of the death, it's very hard. I think, but I don't know. I really don't know. But I have a feeling that how can you think of Krishna when you're like, oh, can you give me some pain medication? This, that might be going on in human body. So, but Alvar had this great wisdom, and he gave that to us. And Prabhupada brought it to light by actually distributing in ISKCON. And therefore, at his lotus feet, I humbly offer this shloka. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So I'll just wind it up. Just to let you know, Srila Prabhupada began translating Mukunda Mala Stotra. You know that, right? Yeah. And when we finished the Bhagavatam, I was part of the crew that helped finish the Bhagavatam in Miami. We had a meeting. Well, what other books are we going to publish now in ISKCON? You know, and we're through. We finished Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. So I said, well, Prabhupada started the Mukunda Mala Stotra in India before he was doing the Bhagavatam. He even listed it as another book in print on his first Bhagavatam. So he did that, and also Narada Bhakti Sutra. So I said, why don't we do those? And so that's how we got the ISKCON, the BBT. So we have 5 minutes, so I'm going to just read one more poem. This is Srila Prabhupada Kripashtaka. I offered this to Prabhupada. It's based on, you'll see, the Gurvashtaka that we sing every morning in Mangalarti. You'll see the theme there. Trapped within samsara's all-devouring blazing fire, we had no hope for rescue till your Guru's strong desire inspired and empowered you to boldly cross the sea and teach the truths of bhakti so some souls would be set free. O Prabhupada, your mercy is my only treasure now. Unto your soothing lotus feet I bow. Patiently you taught us how to chant the holy name, and how to dance, and how to sing, and what was life's true aim. And thus you gave us Lord Chaitanya's teachings unalloyed, and saved us from the all-devouring Mayavadi void. O Prabhupada, your mercy is my only treasure now. Unto your soothing lotus feet I bow. When Krishna Bhakti spread and you had centers here and there, you introduced the worship of the deities so fair. And soon throughout the world their lordships smiled upon your crew and nourished strong devotion to themselves and unto you. O Prabhupada, your mercy is my only treasure now. Unto your soothing lotus feet I bow. Prasadam was your special weapon. No one could resist. Once the Sunday feast had started, no one could desist. Halva, sweet rice, crisp pakoras, sabjis, puris, rice. With these and other preps, you did our tongues and hearts entice. O Prabhupada, your mercy is my only treasure now. Unto your soothing lotus feet I bow. The books you showered down upon the masses and on us taught Scripture's sacred essence, bhakti pure and nectarous. And while you wrote, you relished Sri Sri Radha Krishna's name and form and pastimes, qualities, and everlasting fame. O Prabhupada, your mercy is my only treasure now. Unto your soothing lotus feet I bow. While managing your ISKCON with the whole world as your stage, meeting, preaching, traveling like a person half your age. You served their lordship Sri Sri Radha Krishna in your heart, arranging for their pastimes in Vrindavan's secret part. O Prabhupada, your mercy is my only treasure now. Unto your soothing lotus feet I bow. The Guru is as good as God, you said, and some were shocked. But you had simply quoted Scripture. You did not concoct. And sure enough, for those who worship you as they would God, the path of bhakti opens wide and joyfully is trod. O Prabhupada, your mercy is my only treasure now. Unto your soothing lotus feet I bow. If you bestow your mercy, then Shri Krishna gives his too. But if your mercy is lacking, then there's nothing we can do. So every day we should reflect upon your life sublime and vow to serve you always with our body, words, and mind. O Prabhupada, your mercy is my only treasure now. Unto your soothing lotus feet I bow. So that's the Ashtaka. Here's your 9th verse, my little prayer. I pray that my small hymn, though lacking literary worth, presented to remind us of your pastimes on this earth, may find some favor both with you and with your devotees, who hover around your lovely lotus feet like maddened bees. O Prabhupada, I pray that you bestow your mercy now unto your soothing lotus feet I bow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you for all the contributors. Siddhanta, thank you for your opus. I'm sure you could write a book like that and deliver it for 6 hours straight. It's very wonderful, wonderful service, lifetime of service there.
And we're really fortunate we have Siddhanta Prabhu and his wife here in our community now.
Yes, yes.
Hope we get more and more nectar.
And we're thinking about getting that.
God willing.
Hare Krishna. All right, so now let's take up your pants and fold up your chairs. Or don't fold them, just stand up. And we're going to get ready for the Pushpanjali.